No!
As a parent, we've all seen it. We've seen our kids play with imaginary friends. Maybe they're playing G.I. Joe or Barbie, and they just play pretend. They make up little stories and adventures, but what happens when those stories become a reality and the imaginary friends are no longer pretend? Welcome to Paranormal Nightshift, your home for all things that go bump in the night, and your fan story is told here. Today's fan story comes from Kimberly in North Carolina. My husband's work brought us down to rural North Carolina. We were living in upstate New York, and the price of living got way too high, and when the company offered him a position, we took it. It's amazing how the economy works. We sold our house very quickly, and it's amazing how much house we got in rural North Carolina. We moved to a town called Batcave and ended up finding this house that was 5 bedrooms. It was everything that you had ever imagined. Granted, it was just me, my husband, and my daughter, but this house was huge. It was just too good to be true. Everything that we had ever imagined. Now, he would be gone in Asheville most of the time, but he'd come back, and it was just a beautiful house. Now, it was very country, and my daughter didn't have a lot of kids to play with like she did up in New York, but she was so excited that the whole upstairs of the house basically turned into her playroom, and she loved it. I'd hear her up there playing Barbie and tea parties all day long. She just loved being up there. But one day, everything changed. I was downstairs in the living room when I heard her scream from upstairs. Ow! We don't do that! She ran downstairs crying and had a bite mark on her wrist. I kind of chalked it up that maybe she could have done it herself because it definitely looked like she did. It wasn't anything major, nothing that a little bit of ice cream couldn't fix, but she told me that Tommy had bit her. Tommy did not like playing tea party. So I told her, as my mom voice told me to tell her, well, maybe you just don't play tea party anymore. Do something that Tommy wants to do. And that was that. She went back upstairs and acted like nothing happened. She continued to play all the time, but she continued to talk about Tommy all the time. Tommy's backstory was very tragic. Tommy used to live here, but he doesn't live here anymore. Something happened. He can't stay here, but he can come and hang out for a little bit, right, Mom? Tommy doesn't like it when I play with dolls, Mom. It makes him angry. He wants to play other games, but I like dolls. Do you think I could sleep upstairs in my playroom? Tommy doesn't like being left alone. I regret it so much, and I wish I would have gotten more involved so quicker, but I just figured she was lonely. She had no one to play with, and she had this giant house. Of course that she was going to make up a imaginary friend. Of course she was going to play tea parties and pretend. That's what little kids did, right? But that's when the bruises started to appear more often. I was giving her bath one day, and I saw 4, 5, 6 bruises on her arms. She said that Tommy had been biting her. I took her to the doctor the next day, and the doctor said that it was probably, and it looked like, self-inflicted bites, because they looked like they came from her mouth, little children bites, as he called them. It was probably her way of acting out. You know, it had been really stressful. A big move, a new house, and my husband was working all the time. Our family dynamic had kind of changed. I didn't think it could get any worse than that, but it did. She stopped wanting to go upstairs into the playroom. She didn't want to be around Tommy anymore. She wanted Tommy to leave, but he wouldn't go anywhere. One day, she went into her playroom to retrieve a doll that she couldn't find, and that's when it happened. I heard her scream so loud. I ran upstairs thinking that she had to have done something. Something bad had to have happened. She was laying face down on her bed, and she was bleeding. I pulled her shirt up, and she had a bite mark, huge, giant bite mark. It was bleeding, and it was on the center of her back. There was no way that she could have done this herself. I grabbed her up in my arms and walked out of the room, and I said, Tommy, you can't be here anymore. You're hurting her. You're not being nice. You need to leave. I picked my daughter up, held her in my arms, and exited the room to walk back downstairs. But as I hit the doorway, a teacup came shattering over my head. Something had picked it up and thrown it at me, violently thrown it at me. And I screamed again, Tommy, this is not your house. You have to get out. My daughter and I never went back into the house. I called my husband and explained to him what was going on. He left as quickly as he could, got everything out of the house, and we never went back. She never talks about Tommy anymore. She acts like it never happened. But I know that there was something in that house that was tormenting my daughter. And I can only hope that it's not hurting whoever bought the house next. That is a very good story. Thank you so much for sharing. Of course, we're going to send you some Paranormal Night Shift stickers. But tell me in the comments, what do you guys think about that? If you have a house that you know has paranormal activity, should it be disclosed at the time of purchasing the house? Especially if there's children around. Tell me what you think. And enjoy Paranormal Night Shift.